This is Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.
With technology at their fingertips, many consumers today are buying online or at least completing parts of the buying process online. Now, with 2024 on the horizon, how can dealers further meet consumers where they are? Joining us today is Chase Abbott, Vice President of Sales for Dealer-Solutions at Cox Automotive, to tell us more about transforming your operations for continued profit.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me back. I always love coming and talking to you, and you guys are the best outlet out there in automotive.
There you go. Thank you so much. See that? I'm going to have a great morning now that you've mentioned that. So we know that digital retailing processes vary across the spectrum for dealerships. What's the benefit of going digital for those just starting or still thinking about it?
Well, I would tell you, look, a lot of it comes down to really two big main benefits. And I think the first one is, look, let's just reduce the time spent on buying a car or time in the sales process. And then number two would be, improve that customer experience. And as I tell dealers today, look, digital retailing is the wave of the present, not the future, right? It is here to stay. And 90%, of dealers are saying today that DR has positively affected their business. Yeah. And another 79% of those folks are saying that it did 100% improve the customer experience. So for me, it's a must-have with today's progressive consumer. Yeah. And being able to kind of meet the customer where they are and really work with tools like we're seeing today to begin to reverse engineer the car deal.
Yeah, I agree. How is digital retailing working out for dealerships who offer all or parts of digital solutions? And from a consumer standpoint or their perspective, are they responding well to the digital car buying process?
Well, at Cox Auto, we are constantly trying to understand that. And we are surveying. We are always looking to see, get a better handle on this consumer and dealer landscape. And we recently surveyed more than 1,600 consumers that were going to buy a car in the next year. And then we also, at the same time, surveyed 400 dealers who offer all or parts of digital retailing. And of that data, the main issue that we uncovered is that there's just still a trust gap between consumers and dealers. And I think everyone wants to use digital tools these days to some extent. I think everyone sees the benefit of them. They're everywhere. But a lot of the customers don't believe what they do online will match what they do in store, or these online tools aren't really doing what they're supposed to do. And so we're definitely seeing that come out in the data with repetitive and duplication of sometimes the dealers ask to validate.
Sure. Can you explain how the numbers can be so positive, yet there's a negative drawback related to trust?
Yeah, and like I said before, the top priority for consumers really buying fully online, or at least doing parts of it online, is just, like I said, to save time. But the number we saw was pretty astounding. 97% of them are having to repeat themselves when they go in store and having to fill it all out again.
That's the worst.
I know. And look, I get it comes from a kind of a good place. The dealer wants to validate everything to make sure that it's correct. There's a difference, though, between validating and having a customer just start over. Right?
Right, exactly. Whatever happened to, let me go through the information, tell me if this is all correct, right?
Right. Yeah. And so all this repetition, duplication adds additional time, right? Yeah. And it's followed closely, typically by a sharp decrease in CSI. And really that's created, well, I don't want to say created, I think it's probably maintained the trust gap that's been in automotive for some time. And another really interesting stat we saw there, we uncovered that less than 10% of dealers today completely trust the information online that the customers are submitting. And customers feel that lack of trust when they come into the store. And for the shopper, I think it comes across as, hey, if you don't trust your digital tools, why in the heck should I? Right. And this really hits hard on trade-ins. That's the number one repeated step that we saw in the survey data. And I get it to have a little scrutiny on the trade, right? You got to look at the condition report. But there's tools out there that can really help you with that. Digital condition reports. There's all kinds of ways that you can help mitigate that gap and begin to build more trust with the consumer and really feel like the time they spent was well served and has come out in the wash, if you will, when they actually went in to buy a car. Sure.
Is there a solution or middle ground where dealers and buyers can both be satisfied and trust the process at the same time?
Yeah, there is. It lives today. I would tell you that hybrid would be the answer to that question. But I think hybrid's about the answer to just about every question out there today. Like, remote work, office work, hybrid. Can't decide between an EV or a gas vehicle. hybrid.
Right.
And I think this applies to digital retailing as well. Our research revealed that 91% of consumers want the option to interact digitally at the dealership. And we saw the biggest percentage of those consumers said they wanted to use the digital tools with the support of dealership staff. So they want online interaction. They want to know that they get help when they go in store. They want the vehicle and the details and the pricing and everything to match when they go online. And doggone it, they want their time back, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we're seeing still today with what's going on with digital retailing.
So what does a hybrid approach mean for dealerships?
So, a good example of that is a dealership. We just launched a new product at Cox called Retail 360 Deal, and our new enhanced retail solution. And what that does is it allows a customer and a salesperson to go through that journey together. And they walk through the deal details. They're working from the same tablet screen. So via this hybrid approach, a consumer can enter, retrieve all their info, and pull that back down. Dealer can see that as well. And I would tell you, one of the areas I'm really excited about for Retail 360 that we're launching here soon is Deal Pulse. And it's a real game changer, and one that's close to my heart as a former dealership operator that loved creating great experiences. And so just a quick point on that, at Cox over the years, we've amassed what I would call probably the largest first-party data warehouse in automotive, with sites like AutoTrader, Kelley Blue Book, Dealer.com, which is the #1 provider for franchise dealerships in the country for websites. We have 7 out of every 10 shoppers hitting those sites. So we own 70% of the unique visitor market. And so now we've done some stuff with AI and machine learning in the past. It's really helped. But now we're taking it a step further, and we're distilling down that information and providing new insights into the customer shopping behaviors. And what's the trend line in that data from 3,000 URLs visited? Well, nobody has time to go through all that.
Yeah.
And so we distill that down into something useful. So now we're providing insights on key metrics like sale price, trade, APR, and payment. Foursquare, anybody?
Yeah.
Right. And so really giving insights to help dealers begin to reverse engineer that car deal and hit on the relevancy based off of looking at everything the customer did online, not just what they submitted to you.
Right. I'm floored. 70% of all of the consumers out there are touching a Cox Automotive property or site. That's very, very impressive. So from trust gap to hybrid approach, what are your final thoughts on how dealers can transform their deal making?
So look, today's shoppers are very, very savvy versus my time in the car business about 15 years ago. And the internet changed the game. It continues to change, and it will continue to change. And I think it's paramount for dealers to really just kind of stop hiding deals behind the desk or asking a customer to start over because they want that control when they arrive in store, and really start bridging this trust gap that clearly remains and has been evident for some time.
Right.
And you combine that with tools like AI, like Deal Pulse, like I talked about, which gives you insights into really what that customer wants. If I have to flip cars, if I have to secure financing, I can really get insights into what I need to do. And that relevancy is captured by that first party data while they're out there researching is so important, so much so, when customers come in, the amount of sheer relevance you can provide in their experience, they might think is pure coincidence. And I would tell you that it kind of is. It's just the coincidence is now powered by technology. So.
Sure. And, Chase, correct me if I'm wrong, and I've been in the business, since 1980. Isn't it time, it's 2023, isn't it time that dealers are closing the gap on this and making it so that their showrooms and their websites speak to one another, make it much more of an easy transition for that customer to come in from online to in-store? And it seems like in some cases, and forgive me dealers out there, but you know who I'm talking about, they're kind of slow to come to this party. But man, it's a question of survival today. They've got to take a look at these technologies, right? And implement them.
If you look at new form retailers like Amazon, they've really raised the bar on what doing e-commerce looks like.
Yeah.
And even with the mortgage industry, there's a lot lighter lift stuff there, which is even the biggest purchase versus a car, which is usually the second biggest purchase a consumer makes. And so, look, if you want to be in business, the ship hasn't sailed yet, but it's getting ready to leave the dock. And I think that you really got to pay attention to this if you really want to be in business in the future, because the days of walking around with stock sheets and cash is king and pummeling people over the head with $8,000 down payments.
You're right.
Just don't think it plays anymore. And I think that there's so much more to gain if you build the trust with the consumer. There's so much more profit to be made from that trust.
That's right.
Versus the control that they're used to having. And that control still exists. You just got to get tools that give you the control that you used to have in the showroom online.
That's right.
And that's what I was talking about with these AI and machine learning. I need to be able to distill this down. And we used to be able to read the cues, right? We knew if they liked this, we knew if we liked that.
That's right.
But now they're online. And so I need insights into that data as well. And that's what these tools, this first party data, is providing these most progressive dealerships today.
And I would add to that this doesn't only help with your CSI down the road with that consumer that goes, wow, I really like buying a car from that group, but it also helps with your ESI. Your employees at your dealership are begging for you to come out with the technology that's going to meet that customer's needs. They need it in order for them to be successful for your company. So you kind of owe it.
Well said. If you don't get seller experience right, customer experience ain't going to ever play like it needs to.
That's right.
And so you better take care of your folks. And 6 days a week, ding to dong might not be the deal either these days. So you might want to think about shifting and give a little bit of quality of life back in order to help organically create a better customer experience. Because I know there's a lot of folks out there still working those hours.
I know. Chase, that is an entirely other show that I'd love to bring you back on and get your take on that, because it sounds like you and I came from that showroom back in the day. So Chase Abbott, Vice President of Sales for DealerSolutions at Cox Automotive, thank you so much for your insights today. It was a pleasure catching up with you, and I know that our subscribers got a lot out of your visit. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, CBT. Always appreciate you guys having me on.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for watching Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.